And welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible Podcast. I am your co-host, Oscar, joined with Zeke to my left, and
G'day.
a very special guest for the second time, Mr. Gus Taylor, sitting across the boardroom table with a couple of beers on a Friday knockoff.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Matching Oscar's energy, good to see. Mate, you've come on in here and you've actually picked a topic for today.
Yeah, I find this topic. I feel like it's probably one of the most important topics in the financial world. So yeah,
Beautiful.
Well, go
What is
ahead
it?
and let
give
us know.
Give us a lowdown. What are we doing?
Everyone's on the edge of their seat.
yeah. So financial behaviour, and you're probably thinking, what about financial behaviour? Well, everyone makes financial decisions, and thinking about how you made that decision and where that decision came from. And generally what I see as a financial planner is people making the wrong decisions. And if we look into that, we're generally seeing common biases keep appearing their ugly head. And it's these emotional bias and these bias that are basically making people make bad financial decisions.
Again and again.
Again and again.
Never-ending cycle until, 60 plus, retire.
Exactly. And guys, to be quite frank with you, I used to make these decisions like
We've all
pre-learning.
been there.
Well, I'm sure I do the same once we hear them.
Yeah. It's one of those things. When people make decisions, you don't sit back and go, "How did I come to that decision? What biases has influenced me?" Etc. So
No one thinks about that.
yeah, exactly.
Until it's like actually written out and you say, oh, I guess I fall into category A, maybe bias number 2 as well.
Unless you listen to a certain influencer and he says, why'd you buy that coffee? What made you buy that coffee? And you actually think about why you went to the coffee shop here instead of the coffee shop across the road. Was it the person serving you? Was it the price? What was it?
All the different aspects.
Oh, it's getting
Factors.
deep. Getting
Very
deep.
deep.
Well, mate-
Everyone think about your coffee tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Well, Gus, jumping into the first bias, from your research, what have you found?
Yeah, sure. So what I wanted to go through are 6 biases, the main ones I see that absolutely destroy people's decision making. So the first I wanted to go through is confirmation bias. Have you guys heard of that?
Certainly.
Can I just quickly explain to the listeners what that is?
Please.
Hey,
So confirmation bias is the natural human tendency to seek or emphasize information that confirms an existing conclusion. So you keep getting data that appears to confirm the decision that you've made. Yeah, I guess, have you guys ever come across this? Or
every day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
It's funny. Like I had a friend. This is a month ago that goes, "Look, Gus, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this and that. I can feel the energy, and I can see the last 5 people have told him, "Great, do it. That's a great idea." And that's just confirmation bias. And I knew if I go, "Hey," and said something different to his beliefs, that's going to basically, he's going to throw that out the door.
Well, I think a lot of people in society these days, they're not used to giving the hard truth. Like, for example, as you just mentioned there, someone said, I'm going to go out. Everyone's first response is, oh, that's great, do it. But there's not many realists out there who, have the actual advice. Maybe you're not in the position to do it. Like everyone else is saying yes, but it's a very common thing.
Even meeting clients who have gone down, like we sit with them for initial strategy session, and they've got something in place. It's not great. You unmask it. You go, okay, what made you take that path? Like, how did you come to that decision? Oh, I thought this, and I asked this person, and then mum said that, and then her brother said this, and
everyone told me it was a good idea.
Everyone jumps on board, and then they do it, and then 3 years later they're sitting in front of us going, I think I made a boo-boo.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a common one that we see quite a bit in the financial planning world.
What do you think a solution to that is? Do you think it's something as simple as talking to people who you know might have altering opinions? Do you think it's research, or how do you break that?
Absolutely. I think it's all right to have a similar opinion to someone else, or somebody have the same opinion as you, but you need to step back and look at the other side of the situation as well. Could be the best idea in the world, but at the same time, you need to get a different side of it. Warren Buffett's a big fan of this. There's a quote somewhere, I can't find it, but basically, whenever they come to something that looks like a good investment opportunity, they find somebody who tells them it's not a good investment opportunity and why, so they can see both sides of the picture.
It's a good idea.
What about those people who don't like to hear the bad things? Because there's people out there who will only ask people because they know that they're going to say it's a great idea.
Yeah.
For example, if you come to us and you know Zeke's going to say yes, but me no, you'll just ask Zeke, for example.
That is true. Like, a good example of that is people buying food. Like, if you're going out and you're going to go buy like Dirty Bird Kentucky or whatever, and there's a health freak in the room that's going to say, mate, don't do that. Or there's the bloke who's going to go, oh, heck yeah, let's get on it. You're going to ask them.
Yeah.
It's confirmation bias. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
So what advice, would you give to people who can figure that out and not going through the person who's going to say no?
Yeah, so probably not so much with food, but more making financial decisions. Try and speak to people who don't have the same opinion as you. Don't speak to someone who's going to agree with whatever you say. Speak to someone who's going to give you an honest answer and a different side to what you're looking at.
And then is it just writing down the pros and cons, your arguments versus theirs, figuring it out on your own, or go to a professional?
Look, it doesn't matter. Absolutely, I'm always a big fan of going to a professional and getting a second opinion because they're unbiased in that situation. Now, I don't mind somebody having the opposite view to me, but breaking down why that is. And if you can understand, hey, that's actually a good argument, then great. Or you might go, hey, that's actually not a good argument because A, B, and C, but I have looked at my other side of the argument and I still think it's a great decision. But whatever you do, don't just go into something head first, think it's a great idea. Everyone told you it's a great idea. Try and get the full picture.
I don't know if you guys recall, but I recall being in probably about year 7 and year 8. We used to do a lot of debating. And your job would be to sit down and debate one side of the story, whether you're against it or for it.
I like
and
that.
the opposition would be doing the same thing, but the opposite of you.
Yeah.
And then you would swap, and you'd try to figure out which one wins and why. That's kind of fighting this.
It is like that, yeah. And exactly what you said there. It's good hearing the other side. Even though you don't agree with it, it's good hearing it and understanding it.
Agreed. Yeah. What's the second one on your list?
Oh, second one. Okay, where are we? Okay, I'm sure you boys would have experienced this at some stage. Information bias.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just read this out. What is that? Information bias is the tendency to evaluate information even when it's useless in understanding a problem or an issue.
I love it.
That's a big common factor, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard people call it analysis paralysis as well.
Right. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah. So it's basically where there's a solution in front of you, and basically you're looking at everything. What's Putin doing in Russia? How that's going to affect my financial decision, etc. You're just trying to look at every possible angle, and I always see, unfortunately, these people don't end up making a decision at all.
So, for example, like if someone knows they need to invest, but they're looking at the media, the news, interest rates rising, bad time to invest.
Exactly. They're
issues
looking
overseas.
the stock market daily going up and down. What's the what's the board saying about this new product? They're just looking at everything.
Consuming all the information.
Exactly. So instead of having a structured approach, now you're looking at all these different things. Now your vision's going foggy because there's so much there. Now all of a sudden you don't know what direction to go in, and what we see is clients don't make decisions.
Yeah. There's a rumoured policy change in the next 15 years.
Yeah.
Better sit back and wait.
Yeah.
And then you're wanting to make a change, right? And then, for example, you are a victim of information bias. All of a sudden you say, I'm going to next year I'm going to make the decision.
Yeah.
Next year turns into 5 years. 5 years turns into 10, 20, 30, and then you retire with nothing.
Yeah. I think I was looking at it. I remember about 5 years ago, approximately, I had this client. He's like, "Oh, look, Gus, don't want to invest at this stage just because of the drought and everything's happened." And then 12 months later, the bushfires. He goes, "Gus, I don't want to do it. The bushfires."
COVID.
No, then the floods. He goes, "Oh, Gus, I don't want to do it. The floods." And, blah, blah, blah.
Hold on, Gus, hold on.
And then it was COVID, and now
That was his excuse.
it's the war in Ukraine, then high interest, high inflation, and basically we've just looked back and we go, "Hey, if we did this from the start, this is where you'd be financially."
Yes.
And he'd basically be twice as better off than he would be.
Yeah.
I have an exact same example. 2020, met with a client. He had been tossing up these decisions for a long time. Had paid off his home, saved up to pay his home off. We're talking $1 million
Respect.
mortgage.
Yeah.
Just
Good
save,
saving
pay,
habits.
pay. About 55 years old, no assets whatsoever. Just paid off home.
Yeah.
Just keeping the money in cash because he's too scared to do anything. This is happening now, that's happening then, and this and then that, and then Christmas, and then marriage, and then children, grandchildren, and so on.
All these things happening, all this new information, all these new emotions, etc.
There's always something coming up.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
good
Now
quote
AI is
here
happening.
from Mark Twain, and he wrote, "The secret to getting ahead is getting started." Very simple. It's simple, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself, in this position where information bias does come to yourself quite often, and you are wanting to get ahead in life, you just have to get started.
Yeah.
Bite the bullet.
Absolutely. Don't overthink it. Get the facts, get it right, know what it is, get the structure, and get it done. Don't overthink it and look at every detail.
Yeah, and I think if you're really into media outlets, news platforms, etc.,
Dial them down.
it's a lot harder. Like for myself, I don't know about you boys, but I don't watch the news at all because I just get it off the internet, social media. But half the things I see, just disregard.
Yeah.
Well,
Like all the
their
interest
job
rates,
is to make you want
plunges
to
of
watch it,
property
and,
prices.
like, build that attachment to it.
What's the
Stimulate
job?
emotion.
Yeah, literally.
It's just bad. I don't actually think, has there ever been any good news? Like news that you just watched that's good?
Well, 2010, I recall when Collingwood won the premiership.
Here we go. All right. So there's
Apart
one
from that,
story
apart from that.
for 1 in 16 or 18
But no, in
teams or
terms
whatever.
of day-to-day articles, stories, etc., it's pretty rare.
Yeah, it's always bad.
Yeah.
Doom and gloom.
Yeah. There's always something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, probably literally 9 out of 10 clients we speak to, look, even if it's a first chat, a second chat, they will have some sort of information bias attached to them not making a decision in the past.
Yeah. And I do get it in a way. You do need to, make the right decision, understand the facts, but don't overdo it. It's a balance.
Yeah, going overboard is just as bad as going no research at all.
Yeah.
They're both
Exactly.
opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's that happy median.
Yeah. Spot on.
What's next?
Okay. For me, this would be the biggest one out of them all. So it's called loss aversion or endowment effect.
Yes.
You guys
Studied this one.
Yeah, it would be the biggest. So just for the readers, the listeners, what that means, loss aversion is the tendency for people to strongly prefer avoiding losses than obtaining gains. Closely related to loss aversion is the endowment effect, which occurs when people place a higher value on good that they own than on an identical good that they don't own. So,
Such a good one.
such a good one.
That is-
Such a good one. It's just that classic. Why do people hang on to losing assets and sell their good growing assets?
There was a good study done. I can't recall off the top of my head what it was or when it was, where it's listed. But if you Google it, I'm sure you'd probably find it. There was a group of people that they surveyed, and they gave them a product.
Yeah.
It might have been something like a pair of shoes or something like that, and they grew an attachment to it. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, all right, it's time to resell that product. You got given it, it's worth $10. What do you want to resell it for? All of them put it up to about 15 because they owned it. They had formed an attachment to it.
Yeah.
So they were comparing that as a higher value because it was theirs
Yeah.
than what they would if it wasn't theirs. They would only buy it for $8.
Yeah.
They want to sell it for 15.
Yeah.
They don't want to depart with it for cheap. Same thing happens with shares. You buy shares, all of a sudden they're going to go down in value or whatever. You're worried. And crypto, property, whatever it is, loss aversion is a
any
huge,
investment.
huge thing.
Yeah, I find that absolutely fascinating. So let's say you've got a share worth $100 and it goes down in value $20, a person, how they feel, that's gut-wrenching for a lot of people.
Terrible.
They feel this super strong emotion that their money's gone down. They feel horrible about it. Whereas if the opposite happens, it goes up $20, they feel good, but not as bad as they would feel if it went down.
Yeah.
So you've got one emotion that's a lot more powerful than the other emotion, and they're basically the opposite things. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
With your job, because your company, you're in front of clients all day, every day.
Yeah.
What do you find is the most common example of loss aversion with your clients?
Great question. So I wouldn't take on a new client until I've explained this to them. Mm-hmm. So we got to sit down together and I go, hey, Mr. Client, at some point in the future, the value of your assets will go down 10%. Regardless of I'm the best investment manager in the world, your investments will go down by at least 10% at the future. Depending how we're investing your money, could be 20%.
Yeah.
This will happen categorically. So I'm trying to make them experience and feel that right there, to preset that.
To know that what to expect if that happens.
Exactly. So when it does happen, and when we saw that when COVID first hit, markets dropped about 20%. We see it every 5-10 years, the markets drop about 20%. We see it, it's normal. But now all my clients, they look at that, they smile, they carry on with their day, they know the market's gone down, but they know it'll come back up again.
Yeah.
Because I've trained that and sort of so to say, beat that into them at the start. Got that into them at the start. So they understand that it's a volatile investment, long-term direction's up, but when they see their portfolio go down, 20%, and that, that's a lot of money for a lot of clients, they can shrug that off, and because we've already pre-prepped them for it.
I think that's a pretty common thing as well in the day and age where social media is such a big thing. When people think they can just invest in shares or crypto and they're going to get 100x, for example, because all these videos of these highly successful people online saying buy the stock, it's going to go up 200%. Yeah. Some people make it, majority lose quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and what they're used to is bank accounts, interest accounts, where the money doesn't go down; it always stays level. So they're not used to investing spot on. And when they see their investment go down, that gut-wrenching feeling they feel, what do? They sell it.
Yeah.
They sell out at the bottom.
That was my first time investing. I don't know how old I was, maybe 17, 18, for example. I think I lost my first stock. I put maybe $1,000 in, went down to maybe $100.
Jesus,
that's a big loss.
Yeah, it was a massive loss.
Yeah.
And then I just cashed out.
Yeah.
So that is an example. Like it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Like it was my first time doing it, first time investing.
Yeah.
Obviously learn a bit over the time.
Yeah.
But still, I can experience loss aversion.
Yeah.
On the emotional side, when we were talking about it just before, I was trying to think in my head what would be the actual percentage rule for the emotion, like how much do you have to lose to feel the same emotion as how much you have to gain.
Yeah.
So I did a quick Google. The ratio is 2.5. So if you had $100 and you lost it all, that emotion would be the same as gaining $250.
Wow. That's massive.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's funny, I remember an old financial planner once told me, he's like, Gus, they'll never call you when things are going well. They'll only call you when things are going bad.
You're on, guys, straight on the phone. Gus, what have you done?
Yeah. And that's true. Like you see that quite often, unless you've gone exceedingly well.
Yeah.
2.5 times well.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you don't hear anything.
Yeah. Makes complete sense. But yeah, it's good. The thing is, goes back to the other biases. If you buy a good investment, the fundamentals are there. If it goes down, feel the emotion, obviously, but understand that bias is there, that gut-wrenching bias is just wanting you to sell and get out because you don't want to lose. But, try and overcome that bias and be aware of it.
Yeah, especially if your strategy is for the long term as well.
Exactly.
Like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
What my dad told me early in the days when I started investing, he says, don't look at your ComSec or IG, whatever you use for trading every day.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you'll have a heart attack. Next day, you'll be up and about.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going to do. Just look at it maybe once a month or whenever you can. because it's for the long term.
It's funny you say that. I've got this client I've been working with for a while. I set him up with all the login details so he can see his investments, day in, day out, real time. And after the first months of watching it, he goes, "Take the login details off me. I don't want to see it anymore." Yeah.
I feel like loss aversion can be applied in virtually all aspects of life.
Yeah.
Like the emotional side of it, even like it's not necessarily loss.
Yeah.
It's that feeling. It's the emotion behind it.
Potential loss.
So,
yeah.
Oscar, you love AFL, mate. Let's say, for example, you go to kick a goal, you miss.
Oh,
The feeling of missing that, you could kick 2 or 3 goals and you'd still feel the same emotion, if not worse, about missing that one, right?
yeah, and obviously depends on the time of the game. If it's the last shot of the game to win the match.
Yeah, that's right. Like even in relationships, they're up, down, You feel the down more than you feel the up. It's everything.
Funny, you do. And the emotions are a lot stronger on the loss.
Yeah, that's right. I don't have the data on it now. I don't know if you do or if I should Google it, but is there a correlation of how common it occurs from gender to gender? Is it more? Is it stronger in females than males based on different emotional tendencies?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
If anyone knows, drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do the research on that and come back with an
little,
Instagram post at the end of the week.
fact.
Yeah. We do a little poll after this, they can guess, and we'll release the data.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Gus, what's the next one?
Okay. Here
we go.
What have we got here?
Here we go.
I think everyone, this is pretty self-explanatory, but hindsight bias.
Yep.
I'll just read it out anyway. Hindsight bias is a tendency to see the beneficial past events as predictable and bad events as non-predictable. So, look, we've just been through COVID. Everyone I've spoken to, property market and share market, everyone thought it was going to crash, did the complete opposite. Everyone's looking back and going, should have bought it COVID, blah, blah. But if we go pre-COVID, who would have predicted COVID? That's impossible. And no one knew what was going to happen.
It's true.
And that's the thing. If you look back at certain events, everyone thinks it's predictable, but the fact is no one actually would have known what was going to happen.
Yeah, they'll look back in the mirror and God, hindsight is a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's shocking. It is bad.
That's it.
But it's all aspects of life, not just financials. Footy, for example, should have made that tackle.
Yeah, should have.
What would have happened if I did
it.
this?
Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah.
What would have I done if I just took my shot?
Oh,
For your examples.
getting a bit deeper.
I know when I was younger. You think about those things. I'm very happy now, but in terms of the financial side of things, similar question to before with your clients. Is that more of a I'm coming here now because 10 years ago I thought it was just so expensive, but looking back, I'm priced out at the moment?
We look back at the markets, and the thing is, no one could pick the lows or the highs of the market categorically. If they could, they wouldn't be here working. They would be living a millionaire life on the beach. And that's what frustrates me when you see on social media and people telling you about stock picking and how to do the market, etc., etc.
Yeah, join my free e-course.
I'll teach you how to get rich and pick,
rich like me.
Like, if you know why
you're not having the course.
Yeah. You're not chasing clients.
But everyone's doing that. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I know, which is ridiculous. Sorry, I lost the question. What was it?
with your clients.
Oh yes, clients. I set that example. I preset that in their mind early on. That I go, hey, we're never going to be able to predict the highs and lows of the market. Generally, when we do look back, clients are like, oh, I wish I, sold there or bought there, etc. And I'm like, yeah, that's called the hindsight bias. There's no way we could have picked that. But what we generally find is if we buy good fundamental assets that go up over time, it's not about timing the market, it's timing the market.
Yeah.
Favorite quote.
Yeah.
Such a good one.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's next?
Short and sharp.
Is this the no, second last. Okay. Bandwagon effect or group thinking?
Bandwagon effect.
I know this one. This is good.
Chestnut, eh?
Okay, I'll read it out. Okay, so the bandwagon effect or group thinking describes gaining comfort in something because many other people do or believe the same. I've seen in like crypto group chats.
Yeah.
You know how they're all sitting around just like all on the bandwagon of crypto, all
I'm
coming
on the
at each other.
bandwagon of NFTs right now.
Yeah.
Saying when's Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, crypto's the main one.
Everyone's pumping up each other's tires.
Yeah, they are.
It's
It's
great.
hilarious.
I love
It's
the
good vibes.
testosterone, etc. But it also goes back to the confirmation bias, doesn't it? Everyone's agreeing with everyone. You know, group thinking, it can't be wrong. You know, I'd like to hear about the person who thinks it's not a good idea.
Yeah, why do they think it's not a good idea?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, you can find a community like that for anything.
Yeah.
Like if I jump on Google, I've got some ridiculous belief. Like I don't want to throw something out there because it'll be way too left wing. But just something absolutely ridiculous. You Google it and how it's good. You'll find a little community for everything.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. It could be the Telstra towers being, microchips and stuff like that. COVID being microchipped.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And then you're all in this one group, just coming together, pumping each other up. Yeah, that's it.
And
Literally.
You see it in office environments as well. When there's an office decision, they're all sitting around in the boardroom, and no one wants to go against the status quo. No one wants to disagree, even though that they've got a good argument for it. They get on the bandwagon. I
was reading an article the other day where they mentioned every single successful person, business, group, whatever it is, they need to have a strong group of people who will share ideas. They need as many on one end as the other end so they can actually bounce them off each other, come to a rational decision.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
I like hearing the other side of the argument. And, then you've heard it, then you can weigh it up and then make the right decision.
Yeah, if you were to sit there kicking one idea forever and ever, you're never going to go against it, are you?
Exactly. So putting it in the finance world, what can we relate that? A share price, for example, everyone's on that bandwagon telling you this is the
Jump
next
on
thing.
30 cents.
Yeah.
Bargain.
Yeah. Bloody silver. It's a silver
lithium's
mine.
going to go to the moon.
Yeah.
Let's all just jump on it. There's this one share, new lithium mine that just opened.
Yeah.
Everyone get on it. Get every client on it. We're just going to go. It's going to go. It's going to go.
Yeah.
6 months later.
Yeah, my cousin's best friend's uncle's dad.
Yeah.
Told me
That's
that.
the most common one. we
Yeah,
get.
it's great.
Yeah. I've actually got a story from
story
Warren
time.
Buffett.
Oh,
I'm
the man,
excited.
the man,
about
the myth.
stories.
It's not my type of story, but I know someone
Story
might.
nonetheless.
Yeah. So Buffett tells a story about oil prospectors who dies. Oil prospectors who die. And there's a large group of these oil prospectors who are all waiting at the gates of heaven. All of a sudden, the crowd disperses. St. Peter asks the oil prospectors why the crowd disperse. So there's only one left now. And that oil prospector said, "It's simple. I shouted oil discovery in hell." St. Peter asked the oil prospector why he should be let into heaven. After thinking for a while, the oil prospector says, "I think I'll go and join my colleagues, as there may be some truth in that rumour after all."
Oh, well, there you go.
There's the old bandwagon
That's great.
effect.
That's a great bandwagon.
That's a classic.
A classic example as well, just jumping in a multi.
Yeah.
If you're a multi,
Oh, boys, certainty this Friday night.
Yeah.
Got this guy for 30 touches,
Yeah.
25 legger.
riding it the whole way home, you've got the whole group in on it, or who's going to win the season.
Yeah.
That's a big bandwagon.
Lucky
one.
last, do we?
Yeah, and this is probably the most common I see. Anchoring bias.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so anchoring bias is a tendency to rely too heavily or anchor to a past reference or one piece of information when making a decision. So I'll jump in there straight away and I'll tell you why this is the most common. Get clients go, "Hey, I saw this in the news yesterday," and they base all their thinking around this, what they saw on the news, or this article they read, or what their mate Jono told them at the pub. That's how they're making decisions, is based off that bit of information they heard.
And that relates to information bias as well before.
Yeah.
Like directly in terms of the news platforms.
Yeah, too much information. But yeah, this is where they've anchored their decision around a bit of information they heard. Without getting the right information from the right sources, they've just made their decision based on that one bit of information.
Yeah, there could be multiple bits of information around it. I've got a perfect example where one of my clients, their sister-in-law had bought a property to invest in, and that property did terrible. So he's heard that story, he's anchored onto it, property's crap, we're never buying property, can't do this, can't do that. Little did he know when the property was bought, GFC happened. Didn't know where the property was bought, in a crap location. Didn't know what the purpose of the property was. Didn't know it was overvalued. Didn't know anything around it, the circumstances surrounding it. But he's got that bit of information. Property's no good. His sister-in-law or whatever it was, no, can't do it.
And down the track, that will come to bite him in the arse.
Well, yeah, this is 12 years later.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So he's really ain't get onto that. He's holding on. He's drowning.
Yeah.
Just got to try and get out of that, the comfort zone, out of your little box.
Yeah. You get information from different sources, and you should take it all as a grain of salt. Shouldn't just rely on it like that classic. I've had, another example. I've had a client who's just been so heavy, he heard that property's the way to go, property. Everyone told him property, now it's becoming to the confirmation bias.
Yeah.
He's speaking to his mates, or everyone's getting on the bandwagon, property. So again, not saying property is wrong or anything, but without going and getting the right fundamentals, he's just diving headfirst into this unit, Western Sydney, in an overdeveloped area, thinking, this is, property, yeah, and it's just been burnt. And that started from anchoring bias. He read something in the news saying newspaper, then all these other biases are just affected his.
You don't know what now, because he's had that bad experience. He'll anchor himself in terms of property is now a bad investment.
Exactly.
So he'll never invest in property ever again.
Yeah. And again, this is, and without sort of flogging my own occupation, financial planning, this is where just an unbiased, just straight down the line, fundamental plan works, we've got nothing, no biases involved in our decision making. It's black and white. If something happens in the world, the share market jumps up 20% tomorrow, I'm still going to do the same thing. If it drops 20%, I'm still going to do the same thing. If this happens, I'm still doing the same thing. I have no emotional effect. The only time I've ever made bad financial decisions is when I've let the emotion in. I've gone, you know what, I'm going to do this or do that based on this information, and it's just gone wrong. And that's, the last time I did that was 5 years ago. Now I'm like, you know what, I'm sticking to my plan.
Cost average.
Always the original plan, and it's always paid off.
Yeah. So have a plan, be consistent, and definitely get professional help if you don't know what to do, because for yourself, like, you would help a lot of individuals out there who have no idea at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess in relation to today's topics, like when people are making these financial decisions from the get-go, things are against you. You may nail the first financial decision you make, but with all these biases and all these other things going on behind the scenes that you don't even know about, these are traps. It's just a matter of time before you mess up. I think I was reading a statistic the other day. People who have financial planners, and again, not flogging my own occupation, but are 2.5% better off than somebody who doesn't financially. And where that really came into effect was when people were seeing massive downturns in the market, people getting emotional. What do I do? Do I sell? Do I do this? When you speak to somebody cool-headed, been through it before, they understand the biases, they understand what's going on, the plan remains the same, or do you modify it a bit, etc. Having that on your side, having that level head, really does help.
That comes back to the emotions as well.
Yeah.
You're investing for a client, you're not emotionally invested for their money, so it works.
Exactly. Again, for myself personally, just because I live it day to day, I see my portfolio go down 20%, I'm fine. Goes up 20%, I'm fine. There's no emotions anywhere more in my decision making. And I guess getting back to it, when people do make decisions, just if you get anything out of today, is just try and be aware of where that decision came from, how you came about it, what spurred you in one way compared to the other.
Yeah, sit down and actually think about it. Why did you go get that specific coffee? Why did you make that specific financial decision? Why did you engage in this conversation in a certain way? Whatever it is.
There's always an answer.
Yeah.
It always links back to something.
Because I think, your head's taking in, 2,000 bits of information per second or something ridiculous. you don't have time to analyze everything. So your mind automatically makes all these decisions on your behalf. A lot of biases involved.
It's a thoughtless decision-making process.
Exactly. So you got to sort of think, where did those decisions come from?
Yeah.
And as advisors or professionals in the industry, even if any listeners are professionals, it's really important that you actually sit down and think about what we're saying now. When you meet clients, it's important to sit down and go, okay, why are they doing X, Y, Z? What's happened in the past? The first probably 20 minutes, every meeting Oscar and I have with a client, it might be the same with yourself, is discovering them, what they've done, who they are, what their parents did, what their friends are doing, like
they're wanting to achieve.
Just a full idea of them before you even think about solutions or problems.
And see if you can help them.
Yeah, there's some really great money coaches out there that do that amazingly. Is dig into the whole emotional side,
psychology.
Yeah, the psychology behind it. You know, where your money habits came from, why you do things a certain way, etc. And it's just so rewarding for clients. That's sort of out of my scope, but yeah, there's definitely some good advisors doing that.
And there's a good documentary on Netflix as well called The Psychology of Money. And I think there's another one, How to Get Rich, which is very similar.
Yeah, I heard
So Netflix is jumping into that area as well, which is good to see.
Yeah.
So Gus, for people who want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to contact yourself?
Either reach out to you guys, but yeah, so my business is Sheffield Financial. Jump on the website. You can see me if you want to chat. At the end of the day, when I started in this industry, what I stood for was helping people. And, you know, obviously, if I can help somebody and also put food on the table for myself, you know, that's a good win-win for everyone. Yeah. Even if it's just a chat, you want to pick my mind on something, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, we'll drop your socials and everything in the bio as well.
Yeah,
Gus,
exactly right. Website, Instagram.
You said something important there. You got into this industry to help people.
Yeah.
What made you do that? What was the motivation behind wanting to help people?
Yeah, great. Well, you know, after uni, I was just caught in the sort of corporate world of what do I do? Then I sort of took a step back and I was like, hey, what do I want to do in life? You know, what do I like? I like dealing with money, and I like relationships, and I like helping people. I was like, how can I sort of build on that, you know? And if I can find something that ticks all the boxes for me, great, that's what I want to do and that's where I belong.
No, I love that. Yeah. That's great.
Mate, pleasure having you as usual. Let's
think we're off to the rodeo,
and enjoy a Friday night.
Yeah, the rodeo.
Good old rodeo. If anyone's going to the rodeo, we'll see you there.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.